Hello and welcome. This is Jack. If you're here with us live, thank you for being here. And if you're watching this after the event, thank you for your presence also. I'm going to be getting into answering some of your questions today. If you are here live, let me know that you're here. Give me a shout out. Tell me who you are, where you're from, and tell me what's up. And by the way, if you do have a question for me, get your question in early because I will get to questions in order, and quite often I can't get to all of them. So if you've got something burning that's top of mind, let me know and I'll see if I can get to it. I will also be letting you know of some special offers that I've got running at the moment that are time sensitive. If you want to do deeper work with me, this is the time. We've got some one-time only offers happening right now. So see a few of you are joining in. Good to see you here. Leave me a comment and I'll look forward to engaging with you. I hope you've had great Thanksgiving weekends. For those of you that have been celebrating Thanksgiving, and for those of you that haven't, I hope your week at work hasn't been too difficult. Yeah, welcome. I see more of you are coming in. Hi to Victoria from Minneapolis. Welcome. If you're just joining us now, say hi. Let me know where you're tuning in from. Let me know what the weather's doing. I'm here on the East Coast. It's actually really beautiful. I've been very impressed with the fall weather. Hasn't gotten too cold yet either. All right. Good evening from Athens. Welcome, Nectaria. Heather's in Seattle. Welcome. Susie, hi from California. Good morning, Diana. Tina's in Tennessee. Chrissy's in Indiana, and I got Diana in California, and Elskar says, I definitely need help. Well, let's get you some help. What's going on? Let me know what your question is, and I'll just throw this up just for those of you that are joining us now. If you are interested to come and do some one-on-one work with me, I actually have a 50% discount. I've never done this actually, but I'm looking to get my slots closed for the end of the year and for the new year. I'm also in the midst of trying to get my first home. So I am tight on the pennies and I'm making it happen. So if you have ever wanted to do deeper work with me, or if you just want to support the channel and you never have, and you want to donate or anything like that, all offers are on the table and considered and welcome. We've got Purple in Croatia. Welcome. Gina is in London. Hey, Gina. Harish, welcome. Hi. Susie's got a question. Let me see if I can throw this up on the screen. Wondering about men who move very quickly. Starts talking love and marriage within a month. Man is 42, woman is 32, but then he pulls away suddenly saying he's stressed with moving. Well, that doesn't sound the most bankable proposition as I hear it. Here's one possibility, and I don't know exactly if this is going on for this guy, but I see this quite commonly, is that sometimes you can inspire deep feelings in a guy, right? Or you can sort of almost like activate his love fantasy. And by the way, this can happen in both directions, right? So this could also happen on your side of the fence. But it's sort of like some things get kicked up and you're surprised. You find yourself saying, oh my God, I love you so much. Or you're the person I've always wanted to meet. Or it's sort of like romantic infatuation is taking place. Romantic infatuation is not the close cousin of sobriety. And in that romantic infatuation phases, all things can happen. And it's not necessarily disingenuous. It may not be super grounded. Sometimes it can just be genuine. And I say, look, let's start with a genuine assumption that someone is trying to be authentic with us until proven otherwise. It might be where they're at now. Is that something that's realistic? Probably not, right? So much better if we get that information after some months of hanging out or longer and see where things are at. So if it were possible to receive it as some kind of compliment, that would be a great way to hold it, right? Wow, I activate love fantasy in men. I mean, some women would really like to have that. It doesn't necessarily happen for all of us all the time, right? But enjoy it a bit like you enjoy a night out, but you don't necessarily, when you're on a night out, make the best decisions about the rest of your life, right? So That's how I'd be holding it. And if it then is, super intense and starts to drop off, and the drop off isn't just, yeah, I'm having a hard day, but the drop off is I've sort of significantly taken a step back. You probably have your information, and you probably have what your intuition may have been signaling to you all along. That, okay, a guy's moving very quickly. Generally, we're not going to say the guy moving very quickly is what we're going for, So if you're into it, you can always just say, okay, I'm going to suspend making too many judgments. I'll let time be my friend. I'll let metabolism. Oh my gosh, who would have thought when I was studying? I mean, I stopped studying science fairly early in my life. But when I did study biology and we talked about metabolism, who knew that I would be talking about metabolism in the context of men moving fast in relating? But life is a mysterious thing, so here we are. So that's how I hold that. If the tenor, and by the tenor I mean the tone, the felt experience of relating it's kind of stressing you because the guy's moving so quickly, I would trust that. Like, that's not going so great for you. So a lot of this is also about bringing it back home, right? Trusting yourself, noticing, as this is unfolding, it's like, okay, yeah, he seems to be a little bit out to lunch with these kind of like starry eyes. Yeah, maybe not, So generally, your intuition's your friend, time is your friend, metabolism is your friend, trusting yourself is your friend, and you probably have your answer, even from the way you framed this question to me. But I hope that's been helpful. I liked the question. All right, what else have you got? Let me take that down. How do I take that down? There we go. Okay. I'm just going to be flicking through here. If you've just joined us, welcome. Thank you for being here at short notice. Natalie, hi, Jack. Good to be here with you again. Yeah, thanks for being here. Trying to release expectations, remember to respond, not react. Yeah, I mean, wow. I love how you put that. That's so simple, Yeah, that's great. It's like it's such a big part of the game. You say it crisply, you say it well. It's not always easy to do. It takes presence. Takes practice. Knowing how not to build castles in the sky, that's something that we work on in coaching, because it takes a while to unwind that kind of pattern. And sometimes if you're used to kind of being a very sort of vivid, imaginative kind of person who is pulled towards a possibility of the future, then as you go to relax that and let go of it, it might seem kind of dull. It might even be a bit boring. If you're used to a certain kind of adrenaline-based attraction or rush, then learning how to just sit and dwell in your own experience. I can't tell you how many times I've come, in my work with people to be talking about patience, as this incredibly underrated quality in the personal growth world. We talk about taking action, and that's important. We talk about reframing beliefs. We talk about unwinding patterns. All of that stuff's really important. But it's almost like, what does that sit in? And one of the big foundations is patience with yourself. That you're doing work that, even 2 generations ago, no one would be hanging out in this conversation. This stuff is kind of new. It's edge. It's precious, but it takes a good attitude towards yourself of kindness and patience to allow things to unfold over time. So big thumbs up for patience. Okay, let's see what you got. Clodagh, lovely to see you too. Welcome. How's it going in Ireland? Natalie says, I'm dating a more emotionally unavailable man who is really slow and I'm a bit anxious. That's why it's hard to give him space without having the sense I'm betraying myself. How to inspire him to speed up. Oh, gosh. Yeah. I guess my question probably would be, do we want him to speed up? Do we want him to speed up? Generally, this is probably my sort of philosophical bias in this kind of work. Generally, I'm not a huge fan of doing a thing to try to get a guy to do a thing. I'm generally more of a fan of noticing, is he doing the thing? And if he is, kind of aligning with it. Now, obviously, there are huge gray territories here, right? We need to learn how to make requests and ask for things, and no one should understand your needs without you're also expressing some of your needs, right? So I realize all that. But just in general, it's so much easier. It's sort of like if you're on the slow train, right, and you're basically saying, how do I get on the express train? the slow trains, if you're thinking about the New York Metro, they don't become express trains. You just actually have to get on an express train that already is an express train. So I think the game that you're in might be a difficult game. Obviously, if he's truly emotionally unavailable, right, we need to discern, is your discernment accurate with that? If it is, then the real question would be, well, why would you want to try and partner with him? Because that's going to be a path of pain to try and partner with a guy that's emotionally unavailable. I like that you're acknowledging your side of the fence. Yeah, maybe I'm anxious, right? So sometimes there is going to be that attraction, perhaps to something that can also give you that experience of anxiety. It might be that he's in your life as a teacher more than as a partner, right? So it might be there's going to be a sort of lesson here of, you're having to stew a little bit more in your own juice experience. That can be a useful thing to be doing. But if you're talking accurately, we need to ask the question, why is this a good choice for you? And I'm not sure from what you've shared if it would be. People have different speeds within which they want to start to get to know someone. But I think that's a different thing than, are you emotionally available? So yeah, I hope it's not too painful, because that can be painful. That experience of, I kind of want contact from you and I'm not getting it. I know that can be really rough. And it can sometimes be the portal into the deeper work, so kind of hang in there and see what it's got for you. All right, let me throw this up. I've been love-bombed. I love Bob. No, that's not what you said. You said, I've been love-bombed in the past. Thankful I can see the signs now. That's great. Awesome. I like hearing that. It sounds like development to me. I see more of you have just joined us. Welcome. I am taking some questions here. I've also thrown up the link if you want to get involved in coaching. And I want to say just a couple of quick things about this. So I typically have two main coaching packages. I have a starter package and I have a standard coaching package. Starter package is lighter. Standard package is more intensive. And I've actually made the starter package. I've given the best ever discounted price that's available on that. And if you know that you want to work with me and you want in on this, I'm actually doing it a straight to payment process. So you don't have to go through an application to do that. I'm just going to get the link here and actually put it into our. Oh, he says he can he post a comment? I'm putting this in here. Maybe someone can just click that and let me know if that is working for you. And then if you put in the coupon 50, that will bring it down by 50%. That's available. That's like a kind of today only package for those of you that are here and want to move quickly. And if you have any questions about coaching or doing that kind of work with me, feel free to bring them here, because it might also be relevant to other people as well. All right. Let me take another question here. How do you handle dating fatigue? I've been having lots of one-date wonders and I'm tired of the talking stage and having only one date. Yeah, I imagine that's you and a lot of people. Yeah, I feel for you. I get that that's a kind of frustrating experience. Sometimes it's darkest before the dawn, right? So sometimes we just have to trust that life has its own timing for us. And, if life is giving you one-date wonders, even though that might be an unsatisfactory experience, it's probably a better experience than having, 12-date wonders, so to speak. So there is also some time and energy, even though you might be having experiences as tiring. It's like you're not actually investing energy into something, particularly if you go with a very kind of light, low commitment mindset. Sort of like, yeah, I can spend 30 to 60 minutes with anyone and maybe learn something. And if something more comes of it, great. If it doesn't, there's absolutely no problems with that. You can also go on a dating freeze, right? And just decide, okay, so this isn't working right now. So why don't I just stop, down tools, regroup, hit my journal a little bit more, just to sort of notice, are there any things here for me to, like, again, my word, metabolize, or anything for me to notice that might be important, that if I'm going on lots of dates, it's kind of harder to see it, because it's almost like I'm stuck in the hamster loop a little bit, and I'm just going to like take a step off and see. Sometimes they're our best moments, even though we don't like doing it. Actually, when there's a thing you've been trying for a while and it's not working, sometimes just, you can always go back to it because you know how to do it, but just giving yourself permission to slow down can be really, really important. So that's probably what I would be recommending. I would also say, dating apps, there's a lot of this kind of built into the process, because I think the way that it hijacks attention, what it appeals to, it can sometimes be lowest common denominator, right? Because they're kind of optimizing for your attention. They're not necessarily optimizing for you having a great experience that leads to you wanting to partner with someone. That's sort of way down beyond where the algorithm is kind of operating. So sometimes I think it can be good to say, okay, I'll get off the apps, but what I'll go and do is I'll just get out into the world a little bit more. I'll go and sit more in coffee shops. I will open conversations with people more. I will go to classes more. I'll do the organic thing for a little bit, and I'll just notice how open I am to life in that more organic way. That shouldn't be too tiring, because it's not too tiring to smile at someone or just to say hello, right? You might risk that they don't respond. You might risk some rejection. In the whole scheme of things, it's probably good to do that practice and burn through that, so it doesn't really hold you back. And you might find that you end up connecting with people, it's romantically or otherwise, but just you feel more connected to life. I think, you're sitting here in front of the screen doing this. It's after a while, it's monotonous and tedious, So that's where I'd start with that. Another thing to just be in touch with is, when we have these deeper yearnings, like it might be a clear yearning for you that you want to be in relationship or in partnership. Sometimes the available slots for those things is kind of in life's mystery, right? That might not be the thing you want to hear me say, but it has seemed to be true in my experience. Sometimes you want something, but it's just not going to be available to you right now. So the practice is to keep wanting it in an unattached way, and then kind of notice when things start to move in that direction. Maybe you notice that the quality of conversation you're having with someone, even if it's not a romantic conversation, starts to improve, or you notice, oh, I feel a little bit less anxious or more authentic or more open or just less worried about this. So it's not quite so much of a problem. Or when I feel lonely, I'm actually reaching out and deepening my friendships. So the sort of whole orientation to it is a little different, and that can be hard because I'm not pretending that every experience along the way of that is just going to be blissful surrender. It might be that you struggle a little. It might be that it hurts and you feel lonely or you feel unsupported, right? So this stuff is real. It's just not sort of giving up on life, universe, and yourself in that process. Sometimes, there's something to learn. Sometimes it's not the right season. Sometimes you'll get surprised, and the moment you sort of let it go, something else wants to emerge. So, I will say this, I don't know if you've been involved in my Real Relating program, but one of the things that we talk about that is this kind of authentic dating orientation, where you actually get a little bit less interested in him and you get way more interested in you, and you use it as a practice. So I'm going to approach my dating, the results or outcomes, I'm going to be as agnostic to that as I could be. Great. If I like you enough and you want to take me on another date, great. But everything else, I'm just using this to befriend myself, to notice my patterns, to see my edges. So it's a very different experience. It's like watching a movie and you're not really caring what the outcome of the movie is. You're actually just tracking yourself and noticing yourself and what you respond to and what you don't respond to. So it takes the pressure out of it. And it tends to mean that it's kind of win-win. That's where like a bad date can actually be a much more fulfilling experience. So let me just chuck that in here. Actually, if you or anyone are interested in that, and you can we have a bandwidth issue. Am I coming through loud and clear to you guys? It seems a little slow on my end now. You can also use that coupon code, same coupon code 50, and that will get you a 50% discount on that program. So instead of being, it's actually, off the shelf $997. I often run offers at $497. This will bring it down 50% off that. So check that out. It's got a lot of good stuff about how to be in that process in a way that might feel more productive for you. All righty, come and say hi if you're joining us. Welcome. If you've been here from the beginning, thank you. You stalwarts, I appreciate it. Thanks for showing up on time. And if you're here after the event, thank you for being here. Also, I'm taking some questions, and I'm also inviting people. Let's see if I can remove this comment from the screen. To get involved, if you want my one-to-one support, this is the time. I'm going to be doing some flash sales here. 50% discount off coaching. Never done that before. Let's see how it goes. But I'm looking to make this happen for those of you that want to coach for the Q1 cycle of 2022, the first quarter, the first 3 months of 2022, or if you're in a spot right now and you want to get some help this next month, starting next month, December, we can also make that happen as well. So let's do this. Mimi, welcome. Claire, welcome. Baby's Chicky says, I'm so fed up with dating. Dawn, lovely to be here. Via says, I've watched you off and on. Why off and on? No, I'm joking. You're always interesting to listen to. Thank you. I appreciate that. That's great. All right. Let's see. Tony B. I was catfished by a man who ended up drugging me. Oh, gosh. And I woke up confused and don't know what happened. Should I go to the police? Yes. That sounds horrific. Yeah, that seems pretty clear cut to me. And I would also be getting some other emotional support around you as well. Whoa. Yeah, do that now. Let's just say, to be honest, I'm having a break from men. All right, so you are doing the dating detox. Happy being single at the moment. So I like hearing that. It can be hard to be in touch with our own singleness, right? So you might have had this experience where it's annoying to hear someone like me say, befriend yourself and like your own company, or even when you don't like your own company, be with the experience of not liking your own company. Get closer to yourself. Don't think all the answers are out there. Your wholeness is not out there. Your wholeness is here. That doesn't mean that at times you're not going to really yearn for connection and intimacy. I think all of us are going to yearn for connection and intimacy at times. It doesn't mean that you might not feel lonely, or that you might also feel stressed, that that generally when you share your life with someone, that it's less stressful for you. So it's sort of like both and. All of that stuff can be real, and it might still be pointing to some things that are just easier in certain ways to do on your own. There's certain kinds of development that can be easier to do on your own. So when life gives you those phases that might feel frustrating or barren, you might just say, okay, this wasn't the opportunity that I was looking for life. I was kind of looking for the intimacy and connection opportunity, and this is here. So let me avail of this. Let me make the most of it. Not shy away from it if I can. Okay. Let's throw something up here. Just finished an arduous year of DBT therapy, and patience really is essential. Yeah, right on. Glad that was vibing with you. How do you deal with major social anxiety when dating after divorce? I've never dated before, and I met my ex when I was 21. Got it. I've done years of therapy or coaching. Nothing's touching it. So my question to you would be, could you just give me like 1 or 2 sentences more on what that anxiety is? Like, if the anxiety could speak to us, what would it be saying? I just want to make sure I'm kind of going down the right track with that. Hey, Jack, wondering your experience. Have you seen many men raising kids or also having busy career if they are likely to make new woman a priority? How long may it take to find out? Okay, so you're saying if you're dating a guy who's raising kids, and so you might be like solo or kind of co-parenting, I'm guessing. He also has a busy career. Are they able to make a new woman a priority? Yeah, I think some of that is probably down to their cycle. We don't talk about men's cycles, do we? The timing and season for them. So if they're at a level of, it's almost like capacity, right? If it's like someone's over capacity, particularly guys, I think, and they're stressed out, they're unlikely to want to reach for a deep connection, I don't think. Right? So it's sort of like, how able is he to be with what's on his plate right now? If he's kind of maxed, he may not. I don't encourage you to wait around for a guy like that. You know, if it comes back around and there's some different availability, then you can take a look at it. But otherwise, you're sort of saying yes to something that you're actually a no to on the premise that it could become something that it's not promised to become. Right? You're actually saying yes to something that you're a no to in terms of how you're sensing the availability, but sort of like on the basis that something else might happen in the future. And I generally think it's just better to either find someone that has availability in the way that you want, or to let something go and say, look, you know, it's kind of like the "you can call me" policy. I want a certain kind of availability. I get that you're maxed. You don't need to beat around the bush with that, right? You don't need to say it critically, but I think you can say it clearly. I want something else. I would love to explore that with you if you're available for it ever in the future. But I don't want to keep investing when I don't see that as a likely direction right now. You know? Now, the kicker in this is that most of the times it's not going to work out with him. You know, if I keep saying this, if I were I should probably just become a betting man. Then I could say as a betting man, but I have to conditionally say, if I were a betting man, then I wouldn't be betting on that, you know? So that can be hard to kind of be with. Now, you know, life isn't just probabilities. There's your own situation and its uniqueness and the uniqueness of the connection. So, you know, you can apply it into your own circumstances. But just sort of realizing that, yeah, typically it's easier to not start to invest too much energy and attention there. And also just to get curious, like, okay, why would I do that? Now, I might do that because this guy's, you know, super hot and I'm really into him, right? I might do it because I love him and I'm sort of saying I love you so much that I'm actually willing to kind of not love myself maybe so much in the process, right? Because that's kind of where this hits the road, right? Is it's sort of like, this might work for him somewhat because most guys want connection, whether they are, you know, available for a deeper connection or not. They want, you know, intimacy, they want attention, they want all those good things. So if I were just getting really objective and saying this has to work for you and for me, at the moment we've got maybe it works for you, but you don't actually want the bigger thing and it doesn't already work for me. So it's kind of like, okay, we're already a bit sort of doubly behind the starting line. Do you need to do that? You know, you can love someone and not need to be in a relationship with them, right? I know it's hard if it's that kind of like such an arresting quality that you just kind of want to be around someone all the time, but that's not necessarily the quality that actually is going to stabilize out into something that's going to be, you know, workable for you. So it might be that this sort of thing is presenting itself a little bit more in the direction of, is this asking you to end something about this pattern? Now, you might push back and say, well, look, yeah, but I actually want to be with a guy that, you know, has kids and I want to maybe have like a blended family. And so are you just talking about some kind of unicorn? Because all these guys seem to be like busy. But, you know, I've seen it. I've seen guys who are like, yeah, you know, I'm a busy whatever. I can think of one guy right now, busy realtor, 3 kids, blending a family with 2 other kids, 5 people in the family, but wants it and is available for it and is making it work. You know, I'm not saying that that's always easy, but there's a desire. It's kind of like, that's my vision for my life, is I want to meet someone so that we can, you know, either you can come and be part of our family, or we can blend our families, but I already have that. I'm not trying to sort of course correct my vision just so I can sort of be in connection with you. Generally, if there's too much course correction, possibly on either side, but I think particularly, I don't know if it's trustworthy when guys course correct too much for something that they're certainly not available for. That's not really the bargain that I think we want to be in. So let me know if that is making sense. Let me drop that back down. Welcome. We've got even more of you that have joined us. Thanks for being here, taking a few questions. If you have a question, put it in the comments. I will get to them broadly in the order that they're given. Sometimes I don't have the time to get through all of them. And also, if you are interested to do deeper work with me, I've got this not really Friday now, is it? I don't think Black Sunday's even a thing, is it? But we'll call it Black Sunday. And sorry if I've trespassed some historical naming there. But this is the Black Sunday deal. You can look in the comments. You can click the links. Or you can do an application there, jackbutler.com/apply. And we'll see if this is a good fit for you. I'm excited. I've got spots open for the first quarter of next year. I've really been enjoying my coaching work this cycle. Thanks to those of you that are coaching with me currently. And let's bring it on. There's a couple other things I wanted just to mention for those of you that are like, I don't want to just coach, Jack. I kind of want something even more. So I've actually reintroduced for the first time in, well, it's between 4 and 5 years actually, personal retreats. So this is the opportunity if you want to really nix a particular pattern or get some deep support and reflection in an intensive way, this could be a great opportunity for you. We get together in person over 3 days and we do work. I workshop with you, I coach with you, we do conversations outside in nature, I custom design an experience based upon the learning themes that we're taking aim at. It's kind of the most customized, bespoke thing I may ever do. And it's a really neat opportunity. So if that's something that you might be interested in, again, just go to jackbutler.com/apply and you can just put in there that you're interested in the personal retreat and we'll get on a call and see if that is a good fit for you. Those will be happening on the East Coast within earshot of DC, or we can do it back in Boulder because I know a lot of the lay of the land there as well. So this would happen in the first 6 months of 2022. We get our calendars together. We find some days that we can do the work, and we do the work. It's an exciting thing. For those of you that are like that, Jack, that sounds great, but that's just not enough. I've also got a bundle where you can do that alongside my unlimited coaching. So for the first time in 2022, I'm also introducing an unlimited coaching package, which is basically where you get me in your corner. We can connect any day of the week. If you've got something that comes up, we can kind of deal with it closer to real time. Normally when I coach, we speak maybe 3 or 4 times a month, depending on the package. And sometimes people like the idea of having me in their corner when something comes up. If I can be a voice of compassion, sanity, sobriety, or sometimes challenge and reflecting things back to you in a loving and persistent way, like, hey, there's something here that might be for you to look at. That could be something that you want to consider. So again, you can go to jackbutler.com/apply and just put unlimited as part of your application. I'll know that you're interested in that. And we will get on an application call and see if it's a good fit for you. I'm excited to see who wants to do the deeper work here. So let me... This is where we discover that my scrolling skills aren't as good as my coaching skills. It's probably fair to it's probably fair to say, said he. Okay, let's do this. Let's pull up another question here. Question from Michelle. How do I respond to my narc ex-husband when he calls and wants to chat? I know it's only a matter of time before he turns and lashes out. I want to be polite, but I know that he is so scary. Well, the first thing I'd say about this is I'm curious if you need to be polite. What I mean by that is generally people that care a lot about being polite, typically they are polite. You know, typically that's something you care about enough. It's probably something you have the awareness to try and be. And sometimes if really what life is saying is, we want you to hold a boundary here, right? Holding a boundary politely, I'm all for that, but that's like a way down the integration path. So before you can hold a boundary politely, you may need to be able to hold it messily. Do you kind of see what I mean? It's a bit like you want to learn to bake a perfect cake with the right icing on it. Great, have at it. But first, we just got to learn how to do the basic cake. And if your general tendency is that you can't bake cake, meaning you can't hold boundaries, then the way that you turn your narcissistic ex-husband into your greatest teacher is saying, this is life offering me an opportunity for self-love and boundaries. It may not be the way that I wanted to learn this lesson. It may be really difficult. He may be all sorts of not good. And he may be allowing you an opportunity to say, you know, kind of like, pardon my French, F politeness. F politeness. I don't care if you need to be polite when actually you need to hold down the boundary and just say no, or please stop calling me, or I don't want your calls. And you think about it at a certain level, if I were calling you and you take my call just to be polite, I mean, I appreciate the sort of humanity of that, but I also, there's a kind of inauthenticity, right? Like you're just doing it to be polite, so you don't really want to talk to me. And, you know, maybe it's better that he's calling someone else. Maybe there's someone that actually would want to talk with him. Lo and behold, we don't know, maybe not. But do you kind of get the energy of that? Sometimes when we sort of karmically take the slot of something in someone's life, it might actually cheat you and them. Like that time that he's calling you and you're being polite, some guy they're interested in could be calling you, right? That time that he's calling you, if we just be generous to him in this moment, he could be talking to someone that actually does want to be in a connection with him, you know? So said differently, maybe there's some kind of covert contract that you're still running in yourself or with him that's kind of keeping that pattern in place. And sometimes we need to get a little bit angry, pissy, demanding, front foot, clear, boundaried, closed, in order to kind of get the message across, you know, like that actually the loving thing right now is I actually need to be on my own, you know? And, you know, if you are in such dire straits that it's a literally life and death moment, and you've called your mum, and you've called your sister, and you've called your cousin, and you've called your best friend, and you've called your work colleagues, and literally no one can help you, and you're in a burning house, I will take that call, but I have to be way down the list. It's not the first person you call. You've got to call your family and friends and everyone else. Do you see what I mean? So there's like, that might be where your humanity is like in the absolute last resort, we had a history and I care enough that I would pull you out of a bad situation. But I don't think I'd even be advertising that up front. That might just be something that you hold in the back of your consciousness to allow you to sort of reframe the situation. Now, you might say, great, Jack, but actually I don't have an option. He's in my life because, you know, we share children or grandchildren, or we still have something that keeps us together, you know? So in that situation, you may still need to reserve the right to put it in ways that work for you. Maybe what works for you is you don't just get to call me. If we're going to need to chat, we'll do it in a scheduled way, right? We will talk at these particular times, you know, or if you need to talk to me, you're going to text me. And if I text back, then we can get on a call. Like, so basically, what is your personal protocol? How do you want this to go? If you're saying there's literally no option but to have this guy in my life, and I want a deep examination, is that really true? But if it's true, how would you want it to go? How would it work well for you? Do you need to, maybe he needs to fax you. Maybe that's your protocol. Maybe your protocol is you send me a pigeon, and if I happen to pick up the message, then, now I'm being a little facetious, obviously, right? But do you get the point? Like there's a whole menu here. And the menu that you want doesn't look like you just get to call me and I sort of politely pick up. Meanwhile, my stomach's churning, my heart's beating, I feel anxious, and I'm worried you're going to lash out at me. You know, that's probably not going to go great for you, right? So we're sort of inserting you more fully, and we're tapping into your courage and your strength and your boundaries. You know, and there may be some things in here that also are, you know, your own fears of yourself. Maybe you're concerned that if you're polite, no one likes you. Right? Maybe you're concerned that actually if you got in touch with your anger, you'd be really freaking angry and you don't even know what you would do, right? Mostly when we work with anger and it's unmetabolized, it's unexplored, it's like, yeah, I'm afraid of my own anger. Yeah, this guy might be a scary dude, but I'm also afraid of the one in me that, you know, we call it the atomic bomb in the basement, right? The one in me that I've never gotten to say is actually like, hell no, you don't get to call me, screw you, F off, get out of my life. I don't even want to be around you. Who's that one? I want that one to have a voice. Even if you never voice it fully and squarely to him, let's have it hit your journal. Let's have you share it with a coach or therapist, or let's get it out, right? Because your life force and vitality is connected to your ability to be angry and to hold boundaries. And we all need to learn that. I need to learn that, you know. It's not like anyone comes in with perfect boundaries. You know, we all need to learn it to some extent. For some of us, it's a key life learning. I think I'm in that camp. You might be in that camp. So when we have difficult people in our lives, we say, oh, wow, life, God, you are such a tough teacher sometimes, but maybe, just maybe, there's something in this for me. Maybe I'm not just a victim. Maybe I can become wakeful and conscious and I can turn this into something for myself. That's the gift. Doesn't mean I need to take your calls, but you might be calling me to my higher awareness and my truer essence, actually, because if you're concerned about being polite, you can't really be yourself. And by the way, I know this as a kid. When I would go to other families, and I've got this, one of my friend's moms who thought the world of me, she'd always say, and in a particular accent from the region where we come from. She'd say to my mum after we'd spent time with her kids, hanging out and doing whatever we do, playing football, playing Mortal Kombat 2 back in the day when that was still like a relatively fresh thing. She'd say, none so polite as Jack. None so polite as Jack, right? So if you're a polite person, it comes with some liabilities. And one of them is about the truth and the essence of who you really are. And so you might need to learn how to put that down. Sure, if you're going to meet with the Queen of England, you do your curtsy, you be polite and say, ma'am, thank you for being around me. Long may you live, right? There are situations where turning on the social script, just like any persona, can be incredibly useful to navigate the social situation. But we don't want that to be the default and bedrock of your life. So let me know, is this making sense? Because I don't think this question is just for Michelle. I think this is for pretty much all of us here. Like, how does that relate to you? Can you make sense of it? Are you picking up what I'm putting down? Am I out to lunch? You tell me. I appreciate the question. All righty. Yes, you can hear me. Okay, good. Yeah, and just let me know if this little guy starts to get a bit rustly, because sometimes I'm not tracking that. Welcome if you just joined us. Thanks for being here. I'm taking some questions. We had some great questions here. Thank you for them. I'm just going to have to take a quick drink break here. Got some whiskey. I'm joking. It's filtered water. All right. Let's see if we've got some more questions. And as always, if you've got any questions about coaching or deeper work, or you want to come on a personal retreat, let me know and I'll be happy to help. Jack, I've been divorced for almost a year now, and I still love my ex-husband, even though he treated me quite poorly at the end of our relationship. Why do I still love someone like that? Well, I think there's a couple of ways to approach that, right? I don't know if we always get to choose who we love in a way, right? I think there are, love is a bit like sort of Eskimos with Inuit. Sorry, excuse me, I'm kind of 20 years out of date. All these Inuit words for snow, right? It's like love is such an essentially contested concept, so there's romantic love, there's universal love, there's romantic infatuation, there's agape, there's a lot that goes into that phrase. But if you sort of say, why do I still kind of yearn for him, right? It's like, yeah, I don't know if you necessarily chose that, right? Sometimes that's kind of implanted in you, or life creates the context within which that kind of feeling arises. It will probably, over time, it will probably temper off over time. And I wouldn't sort of fight yourself on it, right? I don't think the answer is to sort of analyze yourself out of it. It might just be, okay, that's true. What's also true is he didn't treat you very well. And what's also true is that you probably need to grieve and move on. And so we want to support that. And one of the ways you support that is typically by having the minimum or no contact, right? Because every time, even if it's just a little text here and there, or you've still got the photos of you around or whatever, that's going to kick up that kind of feeling, likely, right? So part of this is also what's the best way for you to orient to the situation at hand. Maybe there's also a little bit of an awakening. So this would be the second path, is like, okay, yeah. Is part of you still in some kind of delusion or false framing about him that sort of keeps that ability for you to sort of see him through the kind of rose-tinted love lens, and maybe not see quite so clearly the ways that he wasn't good for you, right? Or the ways that he didn't show up for you. Sometimes you're still giving people the sort of the benefit of the doubt, or you're still in connection with the one that you fell in love with, right? And that one that you fell in love with isn't actually how it ended up, or how it ended up showing up. So I think there's sort of like a two-step thing. It's like, don't overanalyze, don't fight yourself, but also just get curious. What would be the maximum if I just said, look, this is going to be hard for you, but I don't want your artist, I don't want your dreamer, I don't want your mystic, I don't want your sensitive one, I don't want your HSP, I don't want your empath, I don't want your introvert, I don't want any of these things. I want your scientist. I want the cold, hard objectivity for you to look and just see what this relationship actually was, and see if it was calling you to something that, even though it's been hard with him, your ability to put him down is actually going to start to propel your life in a new direction where you take care of yourself and you see things more clearly. That might be the opportunity. It might look a little different, but some sort of flavor of, what do you keep in place by not seeing him clearly? And that you can still have warm feelings towards someone and realize that they're not a good person for you to be in connection with, right? So you don't necessarily have to make him the enemy for you to see clearly. Even if we just say, look, it's nothing about him. This is all about you. We want you to be met and to be honored in who you are and to be honored in the boundaries that are truly yours. Not reactivity, but actual sober boundaries. Maybe that's what's going to be coming up here. And maybe the time and energy that you're still sort of latching into him or memories of him or quick text with him or whatever the correspondence is or isn't, could be channeled into your development and to say, hey, what do I actually want to wake up from this? What could this be pointing me to? Now, you don't need to know the answer, right? This is sort of like we're going in search for gold. We don't have to know exactly where the gold is. We're gonna start doing some curiosity work just to see. There might be nothing in here for you. It might just be, yeah, you love a guy that wasn't good for you, and that's a really difficult experience. I'm not trying to gloss over that. That sounds like a really difficult experience. It would surprise me, probably just in my own experience of this stuff and my own experience of working with a lot of people. There'll probably be some gold in here. That's my suspicion. We don't want to get attached to that idea. But we want to be maximally open to what could be being pointed to. But what's being pointed to is not, oh, I'm dumb, I still love a guy that was bad for me, right? This is not an inner critic invitation. This is an actual higher self, true essence, deeper exploration that you could be called into. So I sort of have a quiet excitement for you, even though it might be a little rough and it might be rough for a little bit. I think you're actually on a path here that could open you up to deeper work. And I would encourage you, whether it's here or not, I would encourage you to look at the deeper work around that, because it could be the making of you transforming. Yay, live, Jack. Thanks. I appreciate your enthusiasm. Thanks for being here, Laurie. All right. Valerie's in Nevada. Welcome. I'm gonna have another drink here. And I regret saying that this is whiskey. It gives me a bad image. But you know that my freedom is from not trying to cultivate too much of an image. So there we go. Water it is. What do we got? Welcome. Numbers are ticking up. Thank you for being here. I am doing some flash. I'm doing some flashing. That's not quite true. I'm doing some flash selling, some flash sales, some one-time discounts here. If you want to get involved in some one-to-one work, or if you want to come on personal retreat, now's the time. Let's have a look here. Rebecca says, just purchased the start of coaching. Thought I would not get the opportunity to enter the 50% code, but I did not. Oops. What do I do to get the discount? Okay, I'll sort that out. I can do you a partial refund on the back end. Thanks for stepping into that. I appreciate it. Yeah, I look forward to working with you, Rebecca. Kristen, I want to say thank you for making our program a lifetime access. It was great at the time, but I realized I need to revisit those principles. I'm so grateful I can. Yeah, you're welcome. Thank you for investing in the program. If you want to join Kristen and get involved in this, then let me just repost that. Let me see if I can do that. I was trying to post it as a comment, but I told you my scrolling skills. God, how do you go to scrolling school? I need one of you guys to come up with the, what would it be? It would be the scrolling school for coaches. I would be your main client. I will anchor the program for you. Not a problem. You let me know and I will invest and I will enroll. Okay, let me put that back there. Okay, so that should be showing up. Let me know if you're on, I know some of you are on Facebook, so let me know if that's also showing up on Facebook. Thanks for being here, you guys. And if you click that link and you use the coupon code, so it's just a little box on the top page, you can just enter that coupon code and that will get you immediate access into the program. Tiffany sells Portland. I didn't know that was, I guess you're in real estate. Thanks for being here. Hello, nice to meet. What's your background? Tell me more about how we can benefit mutually from working together. Thank you. Well, I'm, what am I in now? I'm in my, coming into my 9th year of coaching full time. And most of my coaching work is about authenticity and transformation. That's really the core of it. Often the presenting issues are coming from dating and relating. And when we get into the deeper work, quite often we're looking at what would it take for you to be a more true version of yourself, not picture perfect, not what we call idealized self-image, right? Which is often the thing that we sort of run in the background, imagining this version of ourselves that we should be. I'm much more into the, like, who are you actually when you don't have ideas about it? Who's that one that can emerge? So, I sometimes call myself a transformational coach. My job, and we do this typically at the beginning of a coaching relationship, is to find the point of leverage, and the point of leverage being the place or the places where you most give yourself away, where you most are caught up in an image idea of yourself, where you aren't in touch with your true emotions, right? Which could be anger. We talked about that earlier. Could be that you actually can't touch into your own joy or sadness. So we work on how to express that. I'm just trying to think of work that I've been doing more recently. Also help people think about how to be more in their true expression and voice. How to have the experience that your presence matters, and your authentic presence matters. Sometimes I help people discern what's going to be next into in their life chapters, right? So sometimes I help coach people into sabbatical, or career change, or actually being willing to have a period of fallow time where they figure out what's coming next for them. And I guess a lot of stuff around self-love, personal power, boundaries. And normally, and this, I don't say this lightly, but the stuff that needs working, part of my capacity is to hone in on that it's sort of revealed in the context of being with you, right? By which I mean sometimes these patterns are not. It's not like we have to, excavate for ages and ages to sort of hit the pattern. It's like, yeah, it's probably something that's happening every day of your life that if we could shift that, it would really make coaching seem like a really good investment. That's my job. I often talk about the fork in the road with coaching. Your transformation is going to go beyond a coaching relationship with me. What I want to be able to do is for you to look back and say, okay, yeah, I'm on a different track now, or my sense of how I know myself, my sense of how I am in the world, that's different. So yeah, I'm a pretty intuitive coach in the way that I work with people. I have a lot of steeping in certain developmental frameworks, and I kind of use them in the background. So I'm always kind of tuning into what is the next developmental move for this person? Where is their worldview ready for evolving? Because quite often, if you come to coaching, it's because something's not working, right? You're either like, I'm bored and frustrated, I'm dead-ended, I'm really hurt, I'm in grief. Something's just ended, something's just beginning. And those are openings for deeper work. So we're often looking like, is there something that's opening or closing in your life? And how can we use that to your advantage? So yeah, let me know if you've got follow-up questions from that, you or anyone else. I appreciate the question. Irish whiskey, I hope. Of course. But not Conor McGregor's. Just joking. Hey from Guyana, welcome. All right. It is interesting what you're saying. I'm happy to hear that. Thank you. Happy to hear that. You're right on and nailed it. Awesome. Well, great. Yeah. Well, again, just for you personally, or if there's anyone else that's going through that similar issue of I've got this kind of person or ex or someone that's actually still like a sore spot in my life, how can I use that for my own transformative potential? I definitely want you to think about coaching, because I would love to help you with that. Thanks for being open to it. All right, let me scroll. Scrolly McScrolly. Joe's in the UK. Welcome, Joe. Thanks for being here. All right. We've got some questions. You have some great insights into behavior. Loud and clear here. I appreciate that. Thank you. Thanks for the reflection. Claire says, I've been having dance therapy. It's really helped. Awesome. Love hearing that. Yeah. Anything that connects us more with our bodies, I'm generally a fan of. I've also been on dating apps for a long time, and I seem to get hundreds of messages, but it seems that guys are terrified of actually asking me out on a date. It feels cowardly and disappointing. Yeah, I mean, I get why you would feel that way, and it may well be. You know, as a rule, I'm a fan of not sort of spending too much time over there and kind of making claims about what's over there, right? I'm more of a fan of staying over here. And that might sound a little like ethereal if you're not used to that language, but just saying it could be that these guys are being cowardly. That it could be, it could be that they don't want to ask you out on a date, right? That could also be part of it. And then we want to cultivate some awareness there, or like, are you fishing in the right place? Is there a sort of a way that you're engaging with people? Is there an energy that you're giving off? Are you connected to your feminine essence if you have that? So that's where I get more curiosity, because there's all sorts of guys out there, and clearly on dating apps there's probably all sorts of guys that aren't even guys pretending to be guys. You can find anything that you want, you can find on a dating app, but what we really want is to help you find what you actually want, right? So if I were working with you, I would be in the examination of, okay, so when you have the thought that that's cowardly, what is your actual experience? What is happening in you? What do you feel? Do you feel hurt? Do you feel rejected? Do you feel bored? Do you feel scared? Do you feel, you tell me, because I think getting you more rooted in yourself will undoubtedly impact what happens in dating. It could be that nothing particularly different shows up, but your way of orienting to it is much freer. So you don't really need to worry about analyzing how cowardly a guy is. You just notice what you want, and when it resonates, you go for it. And when it doesn't, you don't really lose time and energy to it. That's what I would want for you. That's probably a more powerful place to be in coaching, is dating. But if you were coaching, is to help you find that place of center where more things can happen around you and it's actually okay. None of that is exonerating particular behaviors from guys on dating apps. It's just saying that's going to happen. That is part of the world. And you and I can't really fix that one person at a time. But what you and I can fix is here, right? What you and I can work on is here. And it might be you get off the apps, right? Or it might be that there's, I'm just trying to intuit into that. So guys are terrified, guys are cowardly. So it's kind of like guys are kind of weak, right? And if we were saying it slightly starkly, just to make it more of an energy, kind of like guys are a little bit, I don't know, they're kind of pussying around you or something like that, right? And so I'm like, okay, so guys are kind of weak, so you're kind of strong. Okay, so what's that about? Maybe guys are weak and cowardly. Of course, I can be weak and cowardly, that seems plausible. But I'm curious if you're in some kind of what I would call an oh God. All right, just get ready, kids. This one's going to be long. You could be in an undistinguished rejection object relation. Now, what that means is, and some of you, if you've been with me for a while, you might have heard me riff. I'm not going to go into this at length. If you want to do some coaching with me, I'd love to get into this at length. But just for the purposes today, that you might have a very early experience based around there's someone who's kind of rejected and there's someone who's being the rejectee, the rejector. And in this instance, it's almost a little like, okay, so you're kind of feeling rejected because they're not asking you out on a date, but you're sort of also kind of rejecting them because they're kind of cowardly. So I would have a lot of curiosity about that and where that pattern may or may not show up earlier in life in other domains for you, because I think it could be a rich source of inquiry. And it's also one that's it's not like you necessarily just get that in the moment. It might be something that you would let inquire. And, by working with you, I would support you over time in that inquiry to see if we can really just relax that whole orientation, relax the commentary, and give you much more sort of choice and okayness with a whole set of things that might happen around you, and that you keep your eyes on what you want and the rest doesn't really distract you too much. That's, I think, what I would want from you, just hearing that. I'm enjoying my peace at home. When I feel I need to get out and socialize, I do that. Don't need the headache with a man. Yeah, I mean, fair enough. You have your choice. I've had plenty of headaches just from sinus issues, so let alone getting it from other people. Yeah, I mean, obviously, if I were working with you, I would want to get curious of why do men only occur as headaches? Is that true? Or is it just a partial truth, in the sense we could find any number of men and have them be in your life in the role of, hey, dude, could you give this lady a headache? Are you cool with that? Great. But we could also find some dudes to say, hey, could you show up? Or, hey, could you take some care? Or, hey, could you bring your attention and curiosity? Or, hey, could you relax into some intimacy? Right? There's other options that are on the menu. If you've got a universal belief about men are headaches, and that might be well rooted in your experience. And nothing that I'm saying is about disavowing your experience. It's just saying there could be some other experience that's available for you. And I wouldn't want you to be cheated of that experience based upon past bad experience of men, So it's hard if you've had lots of bad experiences of men to not globalize out some beliefs from that. But we would really want to militate against that. We would want to prevent that as best we could and try and expand the range of options on your menu, even if initially we're just doing it through friendship connections with men, and we just take some of the intimacy off the table to see if we can have you having more of an experience of the higher end of masculinity, right? The masculine showing up, the masculine taking care, the masculine loving, the masculine taking a stand. There's lots of good sides, and that those qualities are not just obviously just in men, but if we just say masculinity as a sort of one dimension of experience, whoever you are, like those are good things. Those are also on some menus, right? But if I've gotten to the point where I'm now looking through the lens of men are headaches, you look like a headache. Are you going to give me a headache? I've already got a headache. I had tons of headaches. I don't need another headache. You can solve that by sort of hermiting, or like coming out of it. And that might be an absolutely killer strategy for you. But also, if you're drawn to, this sort of conversation, there might also be a part of you, even if it's dormant right now, that wonders, could there be something else? Hopes that there could be something else. And that's maybe what we'd also want to get curious about, because it's a blunt mechanism. When we just sort of say a global no, sometimes it's absolutely necessary, but I wouldn't want it as a long-term strategy. It might be a short-term strategy. But if we say no, I'm saying no to the good and the bad. And it might be that with certain inquiry and help, that you can actually find that what you let into your life is much more of the good. And it might be that that's a real break from the past for you. It might be that that's some kind of transformation. And it might be, if you were working with me, my job would be to be the steward of your self-belief that something else is possible. Because I know it's possible, because I know a bunch of men that are able to do this. Is it every man all the time? No. But there is an opportunity to break through into a consciousness where it's less likely that your experience is only that men are headaches. And I feel really clear about that. I don't think that's just fantasy. I'm not really a fantasy guy, So that's also what I want for you. Short term, you need to do your piece. You do your choice. But there's I almost feel like, God, like I can connect with the part in me that feels sad if that were your longer term reality, because I feel like you're missing out. And I can even feel that right now. So, woo. All right. Thank you for the question. Okay, how are we doing here? We're hitting the hour mark. I'm a little behind on my homework, catching up on some questions. Hit me up. Is the sound doing okay? Have we got any rustling going on? Thanks, Jack. You're right. Maybe I just haven't met the one. Yeah, that could also be true. And it might be that there's a combination there, right? Like it might be that you're being invited into a new you, and that is part of meeting the right one. Actually, your consciousness is ready for something else. It's ready to evolve beyond the headache paradigm, so to speak. And so something may actually be required of you in order that you can attract this right one, right? In my experience, it's rare that it's just like, sort of, let's say bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, bad guy, good guy, and nothing in you changed. More common, I think, would be like bad guy. Okay, I'm actually going to get really curious, do some deeper work, do some of my own healing, put some cards on the table, maybe get more connected to my deeper experience, my deeper reality, maybe befriend my own anger and disappointment. And then life says, okay, now something's possible. It won't happen immediately, you know, and that's not to say it has to go that way, but that's more commonly that I might see it happen that way. All right, O'Reilly, love your 80-20 rule. Yeah, bless. I don't know if Perito, well, he wouldn't have spoken like this, would he? Because he wouldn't come from up north in England. He'd be coming from Italia. Io non conosco si Pareto. That's about my Italian. I don't know how he feels about my appropriation of the 80-20 rule, but we won't talk about that. We'll talk about the fact that, yes, I think it's, and by the way, I didn't come up with that. There's spiritual practice circles where that's a sort of a thing about keeping 80% of your attention on yourself. But I have found it to be powerful, and I've also found it to be hard. And I also find myself in situations where I'm like, oh my God, I'm feeling a bit energetically overwhelmed by this person right now. And it's really hard to put even 50 on myself. You know, it's practice, but it really lets you, as you say, stay in your own lane and get, it's almost like you become a cleaner mirror. So when other things come into your field, you actually get a cleaner read because you're not merged over there. You're actually more differentiated. So yes. How? One-on-one from Guyana. So wait a sec, Guyana. You're testing my geography right now. I was thinking Guyana, but you've also said South Africa. Enlighten me. So I think you're talking about personal retreats. So personal retreats currently are on offer in the US. So you would be flying, or if you're domestically in the US, you would be flying out to me. You're responsible for putting yourself up. You know, I can point you towards some options. So you have your board and lodging, and then I take care of everything else in terms of shaping the experience. And the venues that we use, it might be that you come and do some work, you know, at mine. It might be we do some work in, often I'll hire venues like a conference room, or I'll find spots that I think will support. They're basically using the natural world or the built environment to support the kind of learning that we're trying to do. So it's kind of neat like that. There's creativity that goes into it. So yeah, you would be responsible for getting yourself out here. But if that's not an option, you might consider doing one of the coaching options. We've got the starter coaching package. That's just 7 sessions spread over 3 months. We have sessions of 50 to 60 minutes. You'll see the link if you scroll up, or if you can't see it, I can repost it here. Or you can do, and again, you've got the discount on this at the moment, you can do my standard coaching where we get together for 10 to 12 sessions. And we do that over a period of 3 to 4 months. And the sessions are longer, 60 to 75-minute sessions. And we also include a WhatsApp thread. So you and I can go back and forth ongoingly about things that relate to your development. I will check in with you. Or you can do the unlimited coaching, which is where we get together as needed. Almost includes a bit more like spot coaching. And again, you can go through the jackbutler.com. I'll just post that here actually. /apply. And if you're interested in the unlimited, you can just put that there. So I have space for 3 personal retreats. That's what I'm committing to at this moment. And they will take place in the first 6 months of 2022. And as I said earlier, I'm excited about this. I offered these. They were popular back in 2016. And I've been on the move a lot since then and haven't offered them. So I'm excited to be getting more grounded and be in a position to do that. Okay, what do you got? South America. Okay, that makes more sense because I was going to say I think French Guiana is in South America. So yeah, right on. So basically, unless we agreed to be doing it back in Colorado, ordinarily you would fly into DC. And then we will be getting together in the DC area, Northern Virginia. And we may use some of the, like Shenandoah. This is one of the national parks here. It's got some beautiful nature, the Blue Ridge Mountains. But basically, we get together for a call If I'm already coaching with you, then I'll already have some ideas about themes. So sometimes I have coaching clients and then they decide, hey, they want to do something more. If that's not the case, we get on a call and then I do an intake process with you. And on the back of that, I let you know my design and we can iterate it as needed. And you come out, we get together for the first evening, we have an intensive second day, and then we have the morning on the third day. You will have some free time during that time. So it's not all work. There's time for some self-care activities. And I encourage you to treat it like a retreat. Like, when was the last time you spent 3 days completely focused on your own development with someone that knows some stuff about development and is going to put, probably 12 hours of their attention on you over 3 days. And perhaps if you've already followed some of my work, we've got a lot of shared understanding already in place. It's a potent opportunity. So if you want to give yourself a gift of immersive development in 2022, I would get at it. And yeah, I look forward to hearing from you. And if you wanted the discounted price, then get in today. All right. Thank you for your videos. I do attract lots of people, but few are suitable. Would you recommend some sort of vetting filtering system? And if so, what would you recommend? Well, congrats that you attract lots of people. That's neat to hear. So I'm imagining that you're maybe talking about this on a dating app. Maybe you're talking about it in real life. So yeah, I'd absolutely be encouraging you to use filters on the dating apps. I try and use the filters that are most meaningful to you. So I think worldview, right? So religious, atheist, agnostic, spiritual. I think that can be quite a potent one to filter for. You want to find someone that's broadly got a compatible worldview. I don't see this as a hard absolute, but a lot of the data points to broad similarity in education levels being a compatibility factor. So you can filter for that potentially. If you're someone who's, highly intelligent, but not really credentialed, then maybe that's not so much the way to go. But I'd also just, how would I say it? So it's almost like I would be encouraging you to, let's say you've got all these incoming matches, to kind of allow your intuition to serve you. So I would be sort of scrolling down, particularly if I'm, replete with choices, and just sort of noticing like, where do I actually feel drawn? And just there's a way to get into it, which is a little bit less mind and a little bit more intuitive. And it's almost like you don't need to know why you might be drawn to someone. Just notice if you're drawn to them. And I don't mean just in I'm attracted to you. I'm also like, I'm curious about you can also be a good perspective to filter from. Yeah. And, I don't know if this helps you, but I've sometimes just had this perspective, like, if we're going to get into a relationship, you need to be lucky or I need to be lucky, kind of meaning if, I accidentally scrolled the wrong way on an app, or the opening line wasn't quite right or blah, 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 probably it's not really going to go anywhere. So sometimes you can just sort of almost trust life that, if someone's going to be in your reality in a meaningful way, then you'll kind of know about it. And if literally you're like, oh my gosh, I have so many incoming interests, it takes like a part-time job for me to filter this and define, I would also just let it sit for a while. Because the dating apps, I imagine part of the algorithm is also how much you use the app is getting rewarded. So it's a little bit like with email, right? If you want fewer emails, send fewer emails. And that might sound a bit bizarre or simplistic. But the more you reply, the more you're going to have stuff coming back, right? Now, a lot of times that's good because it's stuff you want to deal with. But you sort of get the point. So if you're on that app 3 hours every night, searching, sorting, you're probably creating a little bit more work for you. And you're sort of doing it from the perspective of this is work. So I would just say, yeah, put it down for a week and then just go back to it and just very lightly, almost like pulling a card out of a deck. Just notice, why do you choose? I spread the deck. Why do you choose that card, right? I don't know. It's just kind of intuitive. I would go at it from that perspective and see if that gives you any difference. Okay, so now in real life, there we go. Thank you, Jack, for going down the dating app. But I hope for those of you that have also got a similar situation that might be useful. So in in real life. So, okay, so the issue is lots of people are attracted to you, but few are suitable. So what lets you know that someone's suitable? And I'm curious what the contexts are that you're meeting people in, because it might be that we just want to put you in a different pond, so to speak, or it might be that the way that people are attracted to you is that they're not necessarily attracted to you in a deeper way, and that's what you're looking for, right? If you are, quote, attractive, if you're pretty, or sometimes even if you're just particularly embodied, right? There's a way that people are drawn to you, and it has a more kind of skin deep sort of quality to it, right? It is because of your beauty or because of your physique or because of your embodiment. Now, those all can all be gifts, but they can also be like, yeah, but I actually want my real self. And so I want to reveal my real self more, bring that forward into the conversation, and notice who actually responds to my real self when I put it out there, So, yeah, that would probably be my starting point. If you're being authentic and you're attracting lots of people, it seems like a nice problem. I think it's a problem. A lot of people will be like, "Wow, I'd love to be in your shoes," because it kind of looks a bit dry around here right now. So I'd be curious about the place in you that you are revealing and connecting from, because if that's an authentic place, I think then your radar can just let you know whether you want to continue in a conversation or not, or fish in a different pond. All right. So I am going to be starting to wrap here. So I'm going to get a bit more rapid fire. And I'm exclusively dating a kind, present man for a year now. I'm experiencing the boring feeling you mentioned. How do I know if this is the relationship for me or just not a perfect match? I mean, in a sense, you're talking about how do you access your own guidance? Which, again, that is something that coaching can help with. I like helping people get more connected to their own guidance. Generally, that means dropping your own attention out of your head. So you're not really overthinking and overanalyzing. I mean, part of this is your relationship with boredom. That's just a piece of work that for those of us on the path, at some point, we probably want to do that work and look at what is my relationship with boredom. I might even at some point go back and do a bit more of that work, because I think the more that apps and smartphone has been part of my life, I don't think it encourages a deeper kind of resting. It's sort of a little bit more the quick energy. But another way of talking about what you're pointing to is maybe this guy doesn't really inspire you. Maybe this guy is, how should we say? It's like we want the polarity, right? We want the comfort and the security of a loving connection, but we also want the dynamism and the mystery. And we might not get it all the time, but we need to have enough of both of those polarities. If you're just, quote, a nice guy, because also if you're just a nice guy, you're probably disconnected. He's probably disconnected from his true power, right? Because no one really is probably just a nice guy, right? Normally it means you've disconnected from your own strength, your backbone, your spine, your truth, your authenticity, your animal, all these things. So it could be, that he's sort of doing a nice guy persona, but actually there's just something else that's not there. Because normally if a guy is somewhat integrated and he's going to be present to you and you've been with him for a year, I think often a woman's going to find that attractive. Like if a guy can really give you his presence and it's not just because he's being nice to you. So I would trust your intuition, and don't be afraid also of saying, hey, there's something that feels like it's missing here. I don't know if it's me or you or the connection, but what about if we just take 30 days and we dial it back? Maybe no contact, or maybe just we stay in touch, but we're really going to be putting our attention on ourselves, because I want to find out. And that might also call forth something from him if he sort of realizes, I would lay it down, in a compassionate way, but I kind of find this a bit boring, and I want to feel more alive and adventurous, and I'm responsible for the aliveness and adventurous of my own life, and I want more of that coming here. So let's get at it. in a sense, don't be afraid of having the edge and the toughness of conversation that might bring you guys to clarity. Of course, it risks disrupting the connection, but connections need to be disrupted in order to know what they really are. So if I were a betting man, and we've also established I'm not really, I don't know that I would be betting on this. But I have a very limited amount of information, and I want your own intuition and your guidance and your discernment. It's worth so much more than mine and not being in the situation and a partial view. But I would like you to go and have the most alive January possible, or even December if you can take action right now. And he can join you in that or not. Then we'll see. I'm struggling with discerning what my genuine needs versus the needs that stem from fears, and where's the line? Yeah, that is a discernment. And I'm not sure that it's a perfect discernment. Sorry, that was a little loud. Sort of meaning, permission that you don't have to get it exactly right, that it can be a living inquiry in you. Yeah. Yeah, so there might be a way that you can discern when something's an actual need. It might not occur to you as like a contraction, right? If it's a contraction, it may be that it's a fear in there, or maybe the fear is coming from, I don't know if this need is going to get met. But I imagine a genuine need may not occur as a contraction. It may occur as, a desire. It may occur as a knowing, right? I can know there's something that I want. But I don't necessarily have to, get anxious and fearful about that. Ideally, we're in a surplus of generosity. It's not always easy to do, and this can also be a place of conflict, obviously. But ideally, I want to help you meet your needs, and we can establish that through a conversation at some point. And you want to help me meet my needs, but you also want to be responsible for your needs, and I want to be responsible for my needs. So ideally, we're sort of playing in that, it's sort of more like some people call it like 80-80 as opposed to 50-50, right? So like I'm going to sort of show up more than I might to try and meet your needs, but I'm also going to show up more than I might to meet my own needs. So it's like both accounts ideally are in surplus. No one's going to meet all your needs, right? So there's always, I think, going to be places where you're like, okay, yeah, I might have to figure this one out a bit more for myself. And I think you can make it an inquiry. This isn't even a static thing, right? If you are, let's just say, fully ably-bodied, you might have no needs around your mobility, right? But if suddenly you broke your leg, there's suddenly going to be some needs about like, yeah, maybe I don't know, need help into the shower, right? So our needs are quite dynamic. Yes, maybe there are core needs like I need to be seen and I need to be appreciated. And it's generally good if you can find someone that has a way of easily meeting some of your core needs. So it's not like we're always working so hard just to try and meet some of the basics. But I would invite your discernment over time. I think it's a really powerful question and inquiry to be in. All righty. Hi, Jack. Could you talk a bit more about the starter coaching and what is expected to be achieved after 7 sessions? Is it only around dating? I'm struggling to decide if I need it. Yeah. So it's definitely not only around dating, right? If dating is a big theme for you, we'll bring that in. Typically up front, we will, it's my job to kind of bring this, but we will discern themes for our work together. So we both know what we're orienting towards. And then we tend to work quite organically during our time together. So typically the stuff that needs to come up will bubble up, and my line of questioning and inquiry can also make sure that stuff does. 7 sessions, we're trying to do, I mentioned this earlier, I don't know if you're here, we're trying to do a fork in the road, right? By which I mean you can look back and notice through the things that we've discovered, through the ways that I've supported and challenged you, and through the things that I've had you practice, that the way that your life is or is occurring to you is different. Not necessarily 100% different, but it's almost like that fork in the road that you can look back and say, oh yeah, either I'm showing up differently or the thing that I thought was a problem is occurring to me differently. I'm much more interested in the deeper themes of life, right? So I'm more interested in working with you around self-love and how that shows up in your dating and relating than what's a specific strategy you could use on a dating app. If that's really what you want or need, I'm probably not your guy. But if you want to dig in and say, what's the heart of your life? What's the essence of who you are, who you're becoming? Where are you holding yourself back? Where is something that was a strategy that served you in the past, but now it's limiting? Where can you not trust? Where are you contracted? That's the stuff that I'm really good at helping people cultivate a way of being that is more loving, trusting, and powerful. Not blind trust, not, oh, I met this guy last night and I trust him with my life, but actually trusting yourself and getting a more trusting relationship with life, that you can actually trust that life is unfolding for you. And we don't always know all the reasons why, but that the orientation to life is, I'm actually, my way of being is less controlling, fearful, and more relaxed. So I use the dating stuff as kind of the vehicle into that. But really, it's transformational work. It's deeper work. It's inner work. So we would agree what we're taking aim at in seven sessions. But we can normally get some traction in that time. So yeah, I'd love to talk with you, work with you if that's something that's of interest. Thank you. Have to just see how it feels. Good intellectual connection, which is hard to find. Yeah, I hear that. How to know the difference between compassion and codependence. Oh my God, you guys are working me today. Woo! No, I'm joking. I'm sensitive. I don't enjoy seeing family or coworkers outside of work. It's exhausting. I do enjoy time with my daughter and partner. Yeah. Well, I like, just to name this, and this is for you and for anyone else, including myself, actually, for whom this is true. I like that you're noticing and you're owning your sensitivity, right? I think for those of us that are sensitive, it's worth just owning that. And I'm happy to read that. So I think compassion is like, let's say I offer to do something for you, right? Compassion is I should be okay whether you're a yes to it or not, right? So can I help you with that? And you might say, yes, thank you, or no, thank you. And I'm kind of cool because it actually came from a place of compassion. It's kind of the codependency. It might be that it's really hard for me to hear your no, or it's really hard for me to initiate in my own life when you're not around, right? So I think they're actually somewhat different. If I'm codependent with you and you're really struggling with something, it's hard for me not to get tangled up in that. I might want to care. I might want to help you. I might want to show up. But there's also sort of a point at which it's not like every time you feel something, I need to kind of like dive in and try and rescue you, or I need to get so entangled in it that I can't also have my own experience, right? So part of that comes back to, can I differentiate and individuate? If it's just true that you don't enjoy seeing family or coworkers outside of work, that could just be true, right? And maybe other people don't get it, but I get that. My curiosity for you might be like, if we gave you the magic wand and we just said you could constitute this in any way that you want, is there some way that it would feel good to you? Like maybe going on a silent hike, or having a connected one-to-one conversation rather than seeing like family en masse. Or maybe you like a roundness where we're not really talking with each other, but we're just kind of hanging out, doing our own thing. So is there anything that we could add on your menu that would help you with this? And typically what is exhausting is when we are not honoring our own no to something, right? So it could be that your no is, yeah, I just don't want to see these guys ever. It could be true. But it could be there's a more nuanced no in there, which is, if we get into certain topics of conversation, or if we get into certain conversational dynamics, right? Like maybe you talk and I listen. Or if you get into certain kinds of storytelling about things that happen there and then, but aren't really in the here and now, that's kind of exhausting. I sometimes talk about unconscious storytelling, which is, I'm not very connected to the present moment. I'm lost in the story, and maybe we're having fun exploring it, but maybe I'm not really aware of the impact on you, and maybe it's actually an impersonal impact. I could remove you, the listener, from the conversation, swap someone else in, and it wouldn't make any difference to me as the unconscious storyteller. So I'm inviting you to notice, what is it that's exhausting? Is it that just at some point you need to say, guys, I'm done, and leave and practice doing that? And so you don't need to get overexhausted because you start to notice when you're getting a little bit tired. Is it because you're actually being invited to insert and assert yourself more? So you sort of get maybe small around people, or you're kind of more quiet and shy, and you have a right to that, but maybe you're also being invited into some of your expression. Or maybe people are talking about, what happened on, they still haven't gotten over the ending of Game of Thrones, but actually you're like hurting, and there's a more real conversation that you want to have, and other people aren't acknowledging where that is because you aren't revealing it. So they would be some of my lines of inquiry. I like the question. The only thing you have to offer in relationships is your boundaries, and I'm tired of compromising my boundaries, but I haven't experienced love while getting to have boundaries too. Yeah, I mean, thank you for sharing that, because in a sense, you're getting to the heart of the issue, right? The heart of the issue is, love and power, right? That's kind of Martin Luther King, right? Love without power is reckless and abusive, but power without love is sentimental and anemic. And love without boundaries is sentimental and anemic. So yeah, it's an integration. And a lot of times people do settle one way or the other, right? Sometimes people say to me like, oh, I want to have boundaries like so-and-so. And so-and-so is incredibly boundaried and is actually not really letting life in. They sort of have a fixed stance. And it might even look like, trust no one or something like that. So yeah, we don't want you compromising your boundaries. And I think just giving yourself permission that integrating love and power is real ongoing work for most of us, but well worthy of your time and attention. I've read all the books on boundaries. Yes. Well, yes. Yeah, because boundaries are body. So you've got to practice it in the body. Yeah. And I would say if you're struggling, go to anger. That's the quickest way to look at this. Where are you angry, but you're not acknowledging it? Where does that go? Who don't you get to speak your truth to? Is it wrong to compare your dates to your ex? He set a pretty high standard. I feel I'm never going to meet anyone who comes close to him. How do I stop? I mean, is it human? Yeah. Is it helpful? Probably not. And, ultimately, and I'm sure there's all sorts of nuance that I just can't do justice to, but just to sort of say something plainly, if your ex was so great for you, he would be here right now, right? So if your ex is great in that he's got all these sort of great qualities, but he doesn't actually want to be here with you, or the relationship's no longer here with you, that's the sort of limitation, right? There might be that there's someone that actually can be with you now, who you are now, or can be with you for longer. So yeah, we don't want to be pedestaling the ex, and just sort of trusting that if life wants to put someone in our path that we can have a relationship with, that will happen, and it will have its own uniqueness. So yeah, there might be qualities of a connection in the past that are different than the qualities now, but the fact that it is in the past is sort of like that. There's the clue. Some people can be great in a sort of universal sense, right? Like he's such a great guy, but we also need him great in the personal sense that he's such a great guy for you, and he wants to be your guy, and he wants to show up as such now and ongoing. That's a very different sort of qualification. So I'd be more interested in the set of guys that want to be that for you. And then you can be choosy in a sense, right? And it might be there's no one. I'm not saying give out, but standards is a tricky thing, because sometimes people have high standards because they have really strong inner critics, right? So they can just work harder, go through more pain, push themselves to be things. And, we can get lots of breakthroughs from that. I'm not knocking that per se, but just high standards sometimes is not the same thing as real freedom. High standards is often driven from inner critic. And it might be you're saying, no, it's not that. It's just, a really compassionate, genuine, authentic guy, but maybe not your guy now, and that's what I'm more interested in. And who that could be, it could be like such a different script. Sometimes you can have a connection where it's like these almost are like apples and oranges, because it's like just such a different type of person, type of connection. Maybe it's not the kind of person I would normally go for. That's actually, now you've differentiated from your past because you were running a little bit of an unconscious attraction script. And now what life wants for you is something that's actually different, that you wouldn't maybe have been open to. So yeah, you also got to notice if there's like a pattern of nostalgia or something that keeps that behavior in place. So it could be some good wakefulness for you as well. All righty, I am going to hit pause there. Thank you for being here. I am going to be going on live again soon. I may even pop back on this evening, so keep an eye out for that. I will announce that if that's so. For those of you that are interested, apply for the coaching, get into the Real Relationship Program. Let me know if you want to do a personal retreat. Those are time limited. All these things, if you want this half price, the discount, it's a today thing, so you need to get in. I will also just put my email address here if there's anything that you want to let me know. You can email me. I'm going to be around here for the rest of the day. And I appreciate the quality of your questions. I made a little bit joke earlier, like, you're working me hard. I love it. It's great. So thank you for showing up. I look forward to getting more of your questions answered, and I look forward to doing deeper work with some of you. Now is the time, and yeah, I'm kind of excited for that. And just personally, I'm also excited. I'm getting into a bit of a new phase here, trying to close on my first home, and it's going to be bringing me to the East Coast. And I know from surveys, when I've done surveys on the list with you guys, that a lot of you are on the East Coast. So if you are on the East Coast, you want to do a personal retreat, that's going to be easy. If you want to fly out here, that also works. Yeah, I'm going to be looking forward to doing some more in-person stuff in due course. So I'm going to love you and leave you guys. Thanks so much for your presence here. I've enjoyed it. And if you want in, take action now. Click the link. All right. Thanks so much.